Hi, I'm Cassidy.
And I'm Lindsay.
Welcome to the Meraki podcast. Meraki is a Greek word that means the act of doing something with soul, creativity, or love, to put something of yourself into your work.
This podcast is for fellow photographers to encourage, inspire, and build community in the photography industry
with an ultimate goal to reflect Christ through our words and businesses.
We are inviting you into our weekly coffee dates where we talk all about our hot takes, interview other creatives who inspire us, and share our hearts with you.
Our coffee will be bold, and probably our conversations too. So pour yourself a cup, get cozy, and join us for this week's episode.
Since launch, I have personally done absolutely nothing. Cassidy and Kaden, their whole household is holding down the whole podcast.
That's not true. You got Catherine here for us, so you did that.
It was like two texts and Catherine was down, so.
This was hard to organize.
Yeah, especially with my scheduling.
Y'all came through with today, so I feel like that in itself is saying something.
Yeah.
Well, it works that we all work from home, so that's like
true.
I love that.
Welcome back to week five of Meraki Photo Podcast. Lindsay's here too.
Yes, yeah, and today we actually have a guest on. This is our first ever guest episode, and we are so excited that Catherine from Tales and Trees Photography is our first guest. Catherine,
hi guys. Hello.
Before we get like crazy into all the things, because we are so excited to just hear all about Catherine, your business, your heart behind it, and everything. First, we would love for you to just like introduce yourself, tell our listeners about who you are as a person. Tell us also about your business. Whatever else you would like to share.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I am the owner of Tales and Trees Photography. I'm based out of central Pennsylvania. Something about me is that I am a huge nature person, so you can find that in my name as well. So I'd rather be outside than inside. But I do wedding photography. That's my primary source of what I do through my photography business. And then also do couples and families on the side. When I'm not doing photography, I am probably playing pickleball with my friends. We're all getting really good and it's kind of scary. So we love that. I also do student ministry at my church and run the young professionals ministry as well. I love traveling, reading, just like being with people. I'm a huge extrovert. So that's a bit of who I am.
Catherine is like the perfect mix of like me and Lindsay combined in the one.
Love it.
You have the best trio in the world, actually.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Lindsay, I met Catherine. What was it? It was the winter of 2020.
Wasn't it 2021?
I think it was. Yeah, I remember because I applied to be one of your second shooters.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't know if you still do the application process, but I actually love that you did do like applying for second shooter. And I remember just feeling so pumped to be applying because I admired your work and I still do to this day, like so much. And I was just like, just the fact that I get to like hang out with this person that I look up to so much, like I'm so excited. And that was just our beginning.
No, I think we FaceTimed and I saw your like tattoos. You just looked really cool. And I was like, yeah, I want to be this girl's friend. Which was so funny because obviously I was interviewing you to like be my second shooter. But I was like, I think that there's more. Like, we're definitely going to be friends.
Yep. And it happened. Like ever since the first wedding, I really feel like we've been friends. 4 years. That's wild, actually.
I know. Crazy. I think it was 2021.
You think so?
I think so. Something like that. I don't know. They all blend together.
It's a long
Especially
time.
that time period, like really blends together.
I know.
Like, Catherine, do you have any tattoos?
I don't know. I'm a little bit scared of like commitment to that. Not everything else, but like to putting it on my body. So I just have a nose ring because I feel like if I want to take it out, I can take it out.
That's a soft start.
But this is a new. What'd you say?
It's where it all starts. Is a nose ring.
It's the nose
gateway.
If I did get a tattoo, I would get 3 different trees like on my wrist. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. My friend Quay is an artist, so he said he'd design it if I ever decide to do so. But yeah, they kind of scare me.
Cool.
Needles kind of scare me. Yeah.
What kind of
the 3 trees that would be so on brand for you?
like what kind of trees would they be?
So there's this story that I grew up reading. It's called The Three Trees. So it's about three trees like leading up to Jesus's death on the cross. So it's like one of the trees is a manger, one of the trees is like the boat that Jesus goes in, and then one is the cross. And then it's like a pine tree, an olive tree, and an evergreen. And the evergreen obviously represents me. And it was like the evergreen is the one that like is the cross. So I felt like that was just like representative of who I am. And then also I love the Greek word tetelestai, which means it is finished. So I just felt like it was all of it combined. So if I did do that, that's what I would do. But I also like I could also just like have him draw it and frame it somewhere too. So I'm going back and forth all the time. But yeah.
That's so, I've heard of like the three things. I've heard of other people talking about the three different, like manger to, I always forget what's in the middle.
It's
to the cross.
boat. Yeah.
Okay. But knowing like, just who you are and how passionate you are about nature, like you've said already, and then like tying that into trees with your photography business name, and like I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so incredibly rich to you. Like you have to get this tattoo.
You need to get this tattoo.
Lindsay's gonna drag me to somewhere.
Yes, I'll go with you. I'll hold your hand. I'll take you to my artist. It'll all be okay.
That is so cool, actually.
Yeah. Thanks.
No, I love that. Even framed in your house is a good idea, though.
Yeah. I want that framed in my house now. I'm like, what?
Maybe you can just sell things. You can just start drawing
That would
them.
be so. I would buy that. I would buy that in a heartbeat.
Should become your new merch, Catherine.
True.
Merch.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a bad idea, Lindsay. Now I have to tell this.
Write it down. Write it down.
It's on a podcast now, so it is. There's no turning back.
It's so funny.
I would buy it. I could see like a hat, like a cute like corduroy hat that's like
true
green color, like your colors. Yeah, with a three trees on it.
That's so cool. I would buy that. I would represent you everywhere.
True. Though I will say that I love my branding, so I'm like, ooh, who knows? We'll see.
Well, you can get several different designs.
Yeah. True. These are all things that I want to dive deep into questions about. Yeah. Like you've already mentioned the application thing for second shooters. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about your branding and how all your branding came to be. So many things. So
just take it away.
Dive right in. We're just
okay.
Dive right in.
So
yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say we heard a little bit about who you are and what you like to shoot and whatnot. So maybe like a little bit more about your business and like how you got into it, how long you've been doing it, what your favorite thing about shooting weddings is, little stuff like that.
Yeah, so I started photographing weddings when I was 18, and it's not in a traditional sense. My senior photo photographer took like my senior photos and then reached out to me. I think it was like January before my senior year. And was like, hey, can you come assist me on a wedding? It was in Rehoboth. So like it was really fun, to be honest. But little 18-year-old me is just like carting around a very expensive camera, which like obviously at 18 you're not actually that young, but I just like didn't really know what I was doing. This was when Instagram was like sepia, like the boxes, all these things that you couldn't really tell that you liked photography, but somehow she could tell that I liked photography. I really can't remember if we had a conversation about it or anything like that, but that's how it started. I second shot for her like when I was in college, and then I headshot my first wedding when I was 20. So this was before backyard weddings were really a thing, before COVID. And my friend got married in her backyard and just asked me to photograph her wedding. I think I asked for like $500, maybe something like that. Shot her wedding and loved it. Was like editing in the back of my classes by 3 p.m. media law class, so literally drove me insane. So I just would sit there and edit because I just didn't feel like I needed to pay attention. So fast forward, I dropped out of college. I went to Messiah College. I dropped out of college because I just felt like I wasn't quite sure like what I wanted to do. Clearly I was editing in the back of classes, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then I started working for a coffee shop and doing their social media and things like that. So doing marketing and social media, and in the process I was like starting to like really delve into photography because I had time to, which is cool. So I just asked my friends to model for me, which is fun. I like went to a Christian college, so a lot of people are like dating or like looking to get married in like the near future. So it was fun to like start to build a rapport with them. And as I was doing that, I was like building my Instagram and things like that. So fast forward to like 2019, I had 6 weddings, which was super cool. I felt like that was like a huge deal. And then 2020 hit, which y'all know what happened in 2020, but I had booked like 18 weddings for that year. And then I was also working my like coffee shop job with the marketing. And then because they're a coffee shop, they're non-essential. So didn't have any source of income because they shut down. And in the process, I was talking to my dad and he was looking at like the weddings and like how much I was making. He just was like, I think you could just send it and do it, which my dad is a very wise man. He's very financially like smart and savvy. So if he said I can do it, I was like, okay, I can do it. Which like it didn't just like I did cry in the corner a couple of times because I was overwhelmed by it. But I only had one reschedule, which was super cool to see. And I just feel like I really gave me the opportunity to just like really dive into my craft and decide like what I liked and things like that. And then 2021, which is when I met Lindsay, that's really when I was like, okay, like I'm gonna like take the bull by the horns and like really decide what my style is, what that looks like. I bought like a nicer camera and some like nicer lenses and things like that. So I think that helped a lot. And then fast forward to today, this is my 5th wedding season as a full-time photographer. Yeah, it's just been super cool. I think like I actually posted on Instagram about it today, which is so funny, but like just like the providence of the Lord and his faithfulness of being like, no, you got it. Like obviously there's been hard times in the process of it all. That's like what comes with being a business owner and just like questioning yourself and things like that. But it's really cool to see like something I didn't ever plan to do. Like I never planned to become a wedding photographer come into like fruition because the Lord was like, no, this is like what you're doing and you get to serve your couples and things like that. So yeah, I always say like I don't do it for the money. I do it for like the people and my hobby. But obviously the money is nice too. But it's just cool to like see like how your hobby can turn into something more.
Yeah, really. What's your favorite part of like shooting a wedding day?
Ooh, I either love the first look, the first look down the aisle, because I don't think the first looks take away from first looks down the aisle. I think there's like something really unique and special about that moment. Or the father-daughter dance. The father-daughter dance I'm partial to because I love my dad. So like I'm always like whenever that happens, I'm just gonna be on that. So that's one of my favorite parts. Obviously like the couple photos and being creative and things like that, but I love just like seeing people like the way that their people love them is really special, and getting to like photograph that because they might not necessarily see that is just like really special to me.
Yeah.
I love that. And I don't know, Catherine, if I had ever like sat down and heard your whole story from start to finish. It is just so cool how that all happened, and how you just like you were so clear about that this is what you want to do. Like, well, that you actually weren't super clear about it in the beginning. You still started going to college, but that your passion has always been there, like editing in the corner of a class. Like, that's awesome. And you still do that. You still edit like in the corner of a wedding reception, like the day up, which is like the most awesome things. Like, that was one of the things I was blown away, like, about you, like after shooting with you. I was like, oh my gosh, this girl is like editing while everyone's like tearing it up on the dance floor. Like,
which we all know I want to be tearing it up on the dance floor, but
you would if it was professional, you would be out there.
Yeah, I definitely have to give you credit too. Like, I honestly love hearing photographers' stories about people who pushed through the COVID year because I feel like it created so much change in the wedding industry too. And like,
absolutely.
It's what got me started in it. Like, it helped me launch into it, which was cool how that happened. But I'm always thinking about the people who had to endure like the before, during, and after because that must have just been like so insane. And I feel like it makes a lot of sense that like everyone would have come to a place of just like doubt of like like it's so uncertain, like did I make the right call, like how, but for you to like be going through that and then being like feeling like from the Lord and from your dad and whatever, just being like yeah, I meant to push in even further into this, and now to see where you are on this end of it too, like 3 years 4 years post COVID.
I know, it's crazy.
Really, like those testimonies are so cool to me to like hear about.
And now, Catherine, like you literally have like a team behind you. Like Tails and Trees has become like this larger thing than just you, which is like so incredible. And something that I've always looked up to you is that you've like built this team and this crew around like how amazing you are. Like your people love you so much, whether that's to your clients, like that your couples just adore you, and the people who work like with you and alongside you, like you're so great at just cultivating like companionship and friendship, like every single step of the business. Is there like something specific that you feel like you do differently to cultivate those relationships throughout your years as a photographer?
I think specifically with like people that work for me, it's really important for me for them to be aligned with like my values of a wedding day and like how I treat my clients. So a lot of that is like finding people that love working with people too. I think that's really important. And then I think a lot of people in the wedding industry, like I think there's two halves to the wedding industry of like you're just in it for like the money and things like that, because you can really build yourself in the wedding industry, or you're in it for like relationships and then money comes as a second part of it. And I think our area as well is like really good. I think there's like a lot of people that are really personal in like the Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania area, which we're really blessed with. But yeah, it's been some trial and error. I think I've had some people I'm like, oh, like I just don't think that we like fit the way that I wanted to, which is okay. But then I've had a lot of people like send me second shooters too, which they're people I trust. So I think that helps a lot as well. And then some people are just my friends, have been my friends for like a long time. So that helps a lot as well. So I think there's like three different ways you can go about it, but also like finding people that are going to be like as passionate about photography and your craft and clients as you are. Obviously we want to produce like the best work we possibly can on a wedding day too, but I think that comes from like me saying, hey, I trust you, go do this. And so me being like lording over people and be like, no, do this and this and this and this. I think that in itself helps a lot too.
I feel like this is also like so fascinating because do you feel like I'd be interested to hear your opinion, Catherine,
Yeah.
on if you think that associate shooters and even sometimes second shooters are like a hot topic at all in photography, but for like other photographers, like viewing, bringing on an associate shooter, like, because I feel like sometimes I hear like some like pushback against associate shooters.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with associate shooters or like second shooter. I think second shooters are incredibly important on a wedding day. I've shot both ways. And like while I will say like I can definitely shoot a wedding day by myself, it's also like a second shooter helps a lot in a lot of areas, whether it's getting angles or like being an assistant and things like that, being like another buffer from like whatever the clients need. So my associate shooters, I'm like super picky about. One is Lindsay, which we love. And I've associate shot for Lindsay too, but I think it's like finding like people that have worked with me is really important. So I have two other associate shooters and they've all worked under me, which is super important because they know how I work, one, and then also know feel like kind of what my couples look like too, and then we can produce the same type of work because they know my poses and things like that. And then two, the way that they treat people is super important. So that's a lot of why I did like the applications in 2021, because I didn't really know a ton of people, or I would have people that second shot for me that were starting to branch out on their own, which is great. Like I'm like, all the power to you. That's really important too. But yeah, I think just having conversations, setting expectations is really important. I think you do have to be careful though, because you don't want to just choose a random person and then them not produce the work that you want them to produce too.
Absolutely. What kinds of questions were on that application?
Oh boy. I honestly haven't done it since 2021 because I got the people I wanted. I think it was like, oh man, Lindsay, I'll have to see if I can find it. It was something along the lines of like, how many years have you done it for? What's your favorite part of a wedding day? How do you shoot? I honestly don't remember. Is that, I don't know. It's been 3 years, so my brain is like.
I think there was some like.
Do you remember, Lindsay?
I think there were some like deep questions too, like the basic things like gear, you know, your experience with like flash and things like that. And I think that there is things like, like why did you choose to like pursue photography? And I think you just like you were seeking the heart of the person who was applying. It's what I saw, and that's what I was immediately drawn to. I'm like, oh, this girl is taking it seriously. And like I could tell like how much you loved your couples based on your Instagram, and then seeing that application was like more confirmation to me that like, oh, Catherine's doing something different. And yeah.
I
And
love that.
yeah. I would love to hear, Catherine. I have kind of two questions I want to throw at you, kind of simultaneously. But when, like, I'm curious because you have been my only other associate, and it was more of a non-traditional, like, experience. It was a situation because I was in the wedding. It was my best friend's wedding, and so they knew that I wasn't going to be shooting like the whole wedding day. But like, when a couple inquires with you, like, how does that work? Like, are you booked that day and then you offer them associates? And like do you find that like most couples are just like fine with the associate, or most couples have inquired with you because they've already fallen in love with your personality? And then the flip side question to that as well, I kind of want to ask them, but at the same time, is for people like Cassie and I, where our business name is our name, like, you think that like you have to have kind of like a side branch to your business, like you have Tails and Trees Photography, to be able to do have associate shooters, or if you think that like our business name is a brand enough to support that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. To answer your first question, so I will always take the couple unless I'm not available, or say like I'm in 2 weddings this year. So like if I have a wedding that I'm actually in that year, that day I will send associates there, or if I'm like away or something like that and I already know that. I would say that 50% of people that I say that would be associate are open to it. Also because I send them like previous work to hype them up a little bit, hype my associates up too. I feel like people are like pretty trusting of me in that. And if they're not comfortable with it, like I totally get it if that's not what they want to. Um, but yeah, that's what I would say. I haven't ever had like pushback from it either. People normally just understand that like, hey, I'm also very upfront. Like, hey, I'm not available that day, but like Lindsay is, or Melissa is, or Autumn is. So I always check in with my associates before I even book, like say anything at all, just because I don't want to be like, our associate team is available and then none of them are available either. So I feel like that's not the best as well. Sorry. And then I would say, I don't know if it really matters that your name is in the business. I think a lot of people recognize that, like, oh, there might be like more people in your business now that are associate shooters. I also say, like, on my Instagram, like, if someone has an associate shot for me, so then people can see that there's like other people on my team as well. So that's another way you could do it as well. I don't know. I haven't honestly thought about that, but I don't see that as a hindrance to future couples. I think it just say like, hey, there's more people on my team that I also think like are really valuable and would do a really good job on your wedding day as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then obviously, like, if they're reaching out because they love your coloring, you know, in addition to your personality, like your editing style and stuff,
Yeah.
then they could still, you know, get that. Like, that's not just like an end all be all, like, because
Yeah.
so that completely
Yeah.
makes sense.
That's true.
Very cool. I don't know. I have trust issues. I don't know if I could ever associate.
I get it.
Besides you two, honestly.
Well, I think about it, I've worked with you and I've worked with Melissa. Like, I literally trained Melissa, and then I worked with Autumn, and I really trust them. Autumn just shot a wedding for me, and it was stunning. Like, I literally look at all the photos and I was like, I literally would shoot like that too. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. But I think I totally get it too. It's like trust, like you have to learn too. So I get it.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like I send like sometimes I hear like that like associate shooters are like a hot take because some photographers are like, I could never, I just don't book it if I can't be there. But
Yeah.
I've booked associates, and I've done the same way like you have, where it's like they're people I've like vetted them. They're people who have second shot for me numerous times, or they're my best friend, or this, and that. Obviously, make sure with the couple that up front, like they're okay with it. I liked what you said about like checking with your associates before you even like offer them up to the couple. And also like sending it immediately to the couple and being like, I'm not available, but my associate is, who shot for me this many times. Here's some of their work. This is their name. This is their Instagram. That's actually like that's actually really nice. But I never thought about it.
I agree. I also think like if you're looking at it monetarily wise, it's a great way to make some more money. Not that I like it is like if you're looking at it as a business perspective too, but then it's also another way to like serve a couple that really loves your business and your brand. So that's just how I think about it.
Right. And you also love editing, so that
I
helps.
do.
Like the thought of editing extra
Yes.
weddings to me sounds terrible.
Yeah, I
So
love
that
editing.
definitely
That's when the magic comes to life. So
Do
yeah.
you still, okay, this is a bunny trail, but we're interviewing. Do you still like not cull? You like,
I don't call.
that's just like so impressive to me. I would
Wait,
bring
what?
like $3,000, like 3,000 photo galleries. Like,
I
come
need
on.
Yeah, I
not
don't call
calling me.
because I'm nervous I'll miss something.
I'm confused. Explain more.
So for me, I don't like I say like I have a minimum. I never give a maximum on
Yeah.
my photo galleries because to me like oh like I might think this photo isn't great right now, but like if I look at it and I say like oh there's like this moment happening right now, I'm gonna give it to them. So that's kind of how I think about it. It doesn't overwhelm me either. I can see it overwhelming other people, but that's just how I've always been.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Maybe I
Yeah.
actually am more similar because I cull, but it's like I still I bring over
Yeah.
a couple thousand to edit because sometimes I see a photo and I'm like the same thing. I'm like, well, I might be able to do something with this in the editing. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'll bring it over.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
maybe
it's not
blurry cam is in.
Maybe if
Yeah.
it's black and white, it won't be so bad.
Exactly. Exactly.
Or if I crop this one like really hard.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's how you deliver enormous photo galleries.
Mhm.
That's exactly what I
have
do.
as many photos as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Okay, so Catherine, we would love to hear. Part of the reason that I was like, we have to have Catherine on to talk. I feel like each photographer kind of has like their special sauce. Oh my gosh, I don't like that word, but we'll think of a different word for that. But we're gonna go with special sauce for now. And I feel like that you have such a personalized and like such a clear brand as far as Tails and Trees, but also a personal brand. I know from spending time with you on wedding days and just as your friend, but especially on wedding days, like I've witnessed couples literally be like, oh my gosh, Catherine, this is so on brand for you. Like for even couples to say that and like realize that and like not only realize it, but love you enough to be like, think of you in that moment. Is just so sweet and it's so unique. And it's something that I admire about you and it's so true. Like I see things, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's on brand for Catherine. So I would love to like for you to tell us a little bit more about like your brand and like how you've built such a personalized brand over the years. And also how you came up with the name Tails and Trees Photography.
So my background is in marketing and social media. So a lot of it is like
Makes a lot of
from
sense.
classes I took. Sorry.
That makes a lot of sense now that you say that.
So I love marketing and social media. It's like a huge part of me, which sounds kind of weird when you say like social media is a huge part of me, but just like seeing what like statistics and things like that, and knowing how people interact on social media is really cool. But specifically with my brand, so funny story is that my sister picked the name of my brand.
Cool.
I was like going back and forth and I was like explaining to her what it is, like why I wanted to start a certain my brand, and she literally picked Tails and Trees, which is crazy. So tails as in stories rather than wagging tails, as I always say. Because a huge part of my childhood was like Anne of Green Gables, Sound of Music, like all those things.
Yeah.
I love good old-fashioned romance. Anne of Green Gables I really resonate with. I think my personality is like super similar to hers. Like I just reread the books and I was like, yeah, that is me. And I think she may have shaped me. Like love my parents. I think it was Anne of Green Gables. I'm just kidding.
You do talk about Anne all the time.
I love Anne of Green Gables. Yeah. And just like really true romantic, sweet love stories is a huge part of me. My grandparents have their photo from their wedding, like I forget when they got married, but it was in the 1900s, sitting on their mantle, and that just like there's so much to that photo, like just the stories that come around that photo, like us sitting there, it's like right above their fireplace. My grandpa will be like telling me a random story from their wedding or something like that, or how much he loves my grandma. And I think it's so sweet. So I just like think about my brand as like something that's going to last for like generations. It's not just going to be like, well, someday it won't be Tails and Trees. It'll just be like a photo on a mantle, but that like doesn't even matter because of how like special it is to me. And then trees, obviously, because I love nature. If you look at anything from my brand, there's just trees plastered all over it. Because I love trees. I'm the type of person that like sees a random tree and is like, ooh, and my friends are like, what is going on? Like, because I just love it so much, specifically evergreens. Yeah, so that's a part of my brand. So when I thought about that and just like what I wanted it to represent, I was like, I think that I need to like shoot in nature, pick people that love nature. I have a lot of people that love to like hike or just like be outside, fish, anything like that that comes to me, and just really resonate with that. And as I was like going through the first few years of my business, I just realized that like that's really truly who I am, because I had thought about changing my name. And I don't remember if it was you, Lindsay, or if it was someone else that said like, no, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you change your name? It was either you or my friend Katrina. They were like, every single part of your name. What'd you say?
Sounds like something I would say.
I think it was you. I think I just had like a random moment where I was like, maybe this name doesn't make sense. Where it just like is a part of my brand now. So if you look at my website, I did not make it. I'm not gifted in that, but I had an amazing designer who actually did Lindsay's website too. Her name is Kernan Inc. She's based in London, England, which is so cool. But I saw her, she does like line art, which is really cool. And that was something that I really resonated with. And she did like my whole website. Everything is green, which that's my favorite color too. There's just like ferns all over it, trees all over it. She did such a good job with like all the wording. There's a better name for that, but and just like really showing my brand for who it is. And then being able to like see the way that she saw my brand has been really helpful. So like obviously I see my brand and then she saw my brand as well. And I was able to take that even more deeper and like implant it into like my Instagram and things like that, because she just has a way with words too that was really cool. So yeah. I don't know if I answered all the questions. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job answering all the questions. I have a follow-up question. Before I ask it though, I'm a little worried about the time limit in the corner.
Okay, I was gonna say, are you guys
should we restart?
I was just gonna text. I guess I should maybe just end this and then just start another one.
We'll pick up with my question. I think then when we edit it together, it'll sound normal.
Okay, because I went to like see how much it's to upgrade. It's literally like $150.
What?
Doing that, so.
Zoom said people aren't using it anymore, so they need to make it $150.
What happened to it?
What the heck?
It used to be free to have unlimited. I wanted to just double tap on something Catherine said when you were talking about trees and like that you just love them so much. But if you could possibly put into words like why you love trees or what inside, like what emotions or like what inside you sparks when you like see an evergreen tree.
I feel so much joy from being out in nature. I'm the type of person that my thoughts are always going, and when I'm in nature, like I'm completely silent in my brain, which is really cool. And I feel like that's when I feel closest to God too, is either like in nature and in an airplane. So I think for me, it just like there's some type of peace that comes with like being in nature and then being able to provide that to like my couples as well. Just like take a deep breath and just like be with each other, which is really cool. I just look at a tree and I feel so much joy. I'm a very like expressive person, so I'm like, ooh, like look at that one. Do you know what I mean? I get a little like cowboy-esque when I like point out a tree too, which is so funny. And Lindsay knows exactly what that voice is because she's laughing at me right now. But I just think like that's how I feel when I see a tree. And I think a lot of people, like a lot of my couples can resonate with just like being in nature, feeling calm and peace and just being with their person. So that's one of the reasons that I love them.
I love that. This is such a random question. But do you happen to know the band 21 Pilots?
Yes, of course.
Okay, because you know their song Trees?
No.
Catherine!
I also don't really listen to 21 Pilots, so I'm also like, that's probably why, but I know who they are. High school me would have been like, yeah.
I don't know that song either. Is that new?
No, you guys, I'm so...
Right, I'm running it
I
down
probably
right now.
have.
It is from their Vessel album, like one of the oldest.
Oh, then I definitely have.
Maybe I have, and I just didn't realize that's the name of it.
Okay, Catherine, we have homework.
I
Yes,
know.
I feel like
Let's
this
do it right
song,
after we're done.
it would bring you so much inspiration. It's a little bit sadder.
Mhm.
They're my favorite band in the whole entire
Okay.
world. They,
Sorry.
no, it's fine. I'll forgive you. They end every single one of their shows, no matter what tour they're doing, for years and years and years. They always end with trees. Their song
Hmm.
"Trees." But
That's so cool.
it's very moving. It's kind of like this prayer that he's talking about, like seeing God in the trees.
Hmm.
That's why I was like, you'd probably love this song.
Okay, I'll listen to it. Yeah. I'll definitely resonate with that.
Beautiful. It's very beautiful. But anyways,
That's
The new
funny.
anthem of Tails and Trees.
back to photography.
No,
That's
yeah.
funny.
So because of how incredible Catherine, your brand was, I was like, I need to use the same exact designer for my rebrand. So Catherine was willing
She's
to
so good.
share. She is so good and she's so nice too. She actually didn't do my website though. I do want to say that because my website stinks right
But
now.
you.
So
She just
she
did
didn't touch
branding.
that was me and I'm working on it.
Sarah's gonna call you. She's gonna be like, let me do your website.
I told her, I said, I wish you could.
It's so
Aw.
fun.
We'll give her a shout out in the like
Yeah.
description of
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah,
Perfect.
she's
Check out her
incredible.
work.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she's really good. And her line work is excellent.
It's so cool.
So how do you feel like how do you feel like you built such beautiful like camaraderie with your couples? I just find that your relationship with them is yeah, just like so sweet and so like understanding and how do you feel like you did that, or do you feel like it's just came naturally? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I have a lot of phone calls with my couples. I think that's a big part of it, is just like checking in. And then also an engagement session, just like really being super personal with them, asking them lots of questions. It's not just like you're walking a photo shoot, I take your photos and you leave. It's like I want to get to know you better because I want to understand you as a person, because on your wedding day you're surrounded by like your favorite people. And there are a lot of people that shaped you as a person. So if I can say, oh, like I remember you telling me this story and this person is like that person that's included in that story or something like that. I recently had a wedding where the maid of honor came along to like help with their dog at their engagement session, and it like she's so fun. And it was just fun to see her again and like get to like see her also like be super emotional about like her best friend getting married and things like that. I think that's really sweet. But just the biggest thing is for me like really having like a deep conversation on the inquiry call and deciding if you guys would mesh. Like yesterday, I had an inquiry call with like a couple that loves nature, they love God, they want a super simple wedding, like everything, like they're just fun to talk to, and we just like instantly hit it off. And I'm not saying that like if you're not super extroverted, like you can't hit it off with me too, because I'm an extrovert, so I will make you talk to me type of thing. So maybe that's also it. Like I'm just an extrovert too.
Yeah.
But I think like the Lord has really blessed me with like the gift of like seeing people and like connecting them and things like that. And I think being able to bring that into my business has been really cool.
That
Yeah,
sounds
I love it.
wow, I love that. How do you feel like you've learned, like for you personally, is there like a limit or a threshold of how many weddings you take a year because you're so intentional with every single one of your clients to like actually know them and spend so much time with them?
Uh, yeah, so I'm working on that. This year I took less. I just get
Honey, are
excited.
we all? We're all in that.
Lindsay
Yeah,
will look
no.
at me and be like, "You're adding another wedding?"
Share how many weddings you photographed last year, Catherine.
I don't even remember. Do
I'm
you
scared.
It
42?
was like a
Yeah,
lot.
42.
Yeah.
42?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in 2024 brain mindset now, so I have 36 this year.
Yeah.
With associates.
Wow.
So I'm not like shooting all of them either.
Yeah.
So, which I feel like is good. And so the other thing that I do now is I take a month off of like photographing weddings. So I did take a wedding at the beginning of this month, but July is normally the month I take off. Just because I felt like that wedding I really wanted to be a part of. The couple was really sweet. Just to like give space for me to like edit all the weddings from June and May and April. And then also it's really hot in July and nobody wants to be sweaty in your photos. Like I get it. Some people love being outside though, and I fully accept that. But you're just gonna, it was just 90 degrees for like the past 3 weeks in Pennsylvania. So it's just
Yep.
a lot.
It's
And
pretty
then
much,
3, just like making sure I don't burn out. Because fall for wedding photographers is very intense a lot of times, and just giving myself time to rest. I will take shoots like here and there, but nothing too crazy.
yeah. I actually took off for the first time this July too. I've
Mm.
heard of photographers giving themselves July off, and I
Yeah,
tried this year, and we're halfway through the July, and I'm like, this was the best
yeah,
because it is like a good rebound from busy spring and busy fall.
yeah. And then you're able to serve your clients better too, which I think is really important.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm also taking this July off too. Not by choice, but
What? Oh, sorry. I forgot that you're not taking shoots. I thought you were taking shoots when you were like in Colorado, though.
Oh yeah.
oh well, as far as weddings, I'm still shooting.
Oh, sorry.
I just thought the other day.
I called you out on the
Well, you guys
podcast.
are really taking July off. I am half taking July off. No, I still have like 4 or 5 shoots this month, but
Oh my God.
Okay,
weddings, yeah. Well, I just had one wedding.
gotcha.
I'm taking July off.
Lindsay said she's taking July off, but she's taking it like half, 50% off.
50% off.
50%, yeah, of my work.
Next year, Lindsay, next year.
Yeah.
I like it. I like this little rhythm.
Yeah,
I'm
I
down
think
for
it's
it.
really important.
Yeah.
You definitely have to learn through trial and error, I think, though, like because every photographer's limit is going to be different
I agree.
about how much they can like pour out before you're just not even
Yeah.
You're not helping anyone anymore.
It's so true.
Yeah, and-
Like, my limit is
Yeah.
25. I cannot imagine like photographing 30 weddings of my own. Like I cannot
Okay.
but I'm also more of an introvert. So I think
Yeah.
that, like
You
a big part of it, you both are extroverts. You could do this all day long. And I'm like, I need my Monday through Thursday complete silence.
I do think about that, like with introverted people in general. I was just at camp too, and I just think about this too of like, I can go, 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 go. I can be around people. I'd rather be around people. I'd rather not be by myself. And I'm tired at the end of a wedding day, and like I drive home in silence, literally, probably because like the speakers like ringing in my ear, and I love music, but like it's a little much sometimes. But I love it still, and I can imagine like being an introverted photographer, and it being like a lot. So all
Yeah.
power to you, Lindsay. Set those boundaries.
Yeah. Yes.
Trying.
Yes.
Catherine, I know you mentioned that you do engagement sessions, and that's like a big part of building that relationship with your couples. Do you include engagement sessions in all your packages?
Yeah, so I do, unless it's like a micro wedding, which I don't get a ton of those. I get some. I do include them. I think they're super important to meet me, and then also I can imagine like being on the other side and you meet your wedding photographer on the day of your wedding when so much else is going on. Which granted, there's like certain situations where that has happened where it's like, oh, like my fiance lives in Florida and I live in Pennsylvania, and it's just too much to like try to plan an engagement shoot, and that's totally fine. But just like walking into a room and being like, I don't know if they're gonna like me, which is like scary for me, but I can imagine even more so for someone that's already like, it's already a lot on your wedding day, like there's a lot happening, and then to meet your photographer on the day of which you're like spending, I think like 5 hours of your time with, at least like really focused time, you're spending a lot of time with your photographer. So that's why I do engagement sessions. Also, it's great for like save the dates or your invitations or anything like that, but then it also gives you the opportunity to meet me, to see how I photograph, which helps on like the wedding day as well, just to like remember those poses and things like that, which I always remember like people being, oh yeah, we've done this before. Do you know what I mean? So it makes it a little bit more natural. And then when I walk into a room on the day, the wedding day, it's just like more exciting to see them and just like have that personal relationship with them too, as well.
I literally couldn't agree more. Sometimes I say like I can't imagine. One time I had a couple who did long distance, so I couldn't do an engagement session with them beforehand, so I had to show up day of and like meet them. But I always say like on inquiry calls, I'm like, I just can't imagine like that being like normal, right? To show up for the first time on your wedding day.
Yeah.
To me, that's like I feel awkward doing that. I don't know how they would feel meeting me
Yeah.
for the first time that day.
Yeah, like handshake, hug, like what do we do? You know,
I always hug.
thing. I
It's your
always
wedding
hug,
day.
especially because
I
we
don't,
have
guys.
already met, you know. But if
I
you
don't
just
hug.
met, I don't
You
know.
say you don't hug, Cassidy?
I'm not a hug. People
That's
always
okay.
think that I am because the extroverted, like,
Yeah.
and I love people. I do. But I'm unless someone initiates, I don't initiate hugs. But if someone
Yeah.
initiates, they're clearly going in for a hug. I don't be like, oh my gosh, get away from me. I'm not like that. But I
I
never
know about
initiate
this. I think I give you
Okay.
hugs, but I'm not a hugger either.
Same.
But I think
I'm not a hugger.
I give off that hugging energy. Like a lot of
Me,
people.
it's just because you're bubbly.
Yes. So people like
You
go
just
to
assume.
The hugging
Rap.
energy. Oh my word. Okay, we all need to figure out how to adjust this part of our lives to stop giving off the hugging energy.
I'm like trying to think of how many clients I've hugged. Also, I'll hug the girl, but then I just like stare at the guy, and I'm like,
Oh,
Awkward.
it depends on the situation. Is this going in the podcast?
probably.
Just us talking about hugging?
It's a real thing. These are the real thoughts photographers have. Do I hug the groom?
It's so true because it's awkward. Like, and then do you go for the side hug?
If the groom initiates, I will hug him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
like a lot of my grooms are very bubbly people, and they'll hug you. They're excited, like they're excited to get married. There might be a drink in them or two already, so like they're a little loose. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I wouldn't necessarily initiate that.
Yeah, I actually recently, like, I gave the bride a hug. Well, this was after an engagement session, so this was like first time meeting them. I gave the bride a hug, and then I like asked the groom because I was feeling like no hug energy, and I like asked him. I said, "Do you want a hug or do you just want a handshake?" Like,
I love that you asked.
it's fun, kind of like a
That's actually
joking
smart,
way.
though.
Yeah, it
What'd
was
he
like
say?
yeah. He's like, I'll give you a hug. And so
Oh,
then,
wow.
I think
Yeah.
that's appropriate.
yeah, because
Boundaries. We love.
yeah, and I've actually started asking when I'm first meeting the couple, because I'm obviously really excited to meet them. We've already had a good consultation call, already talked several times, and I'm always excited, but I always ask, like, are you a hugger? Or like, can I give you a hug?
That's smart.
Yeah.
I guess like I have never really been much of a hugger, but I do like hug my clients.
That's sweet.
Same.
Huh.
Same.
Interesting.
Cassidy, get on the train.
Realizing this right now.
Cassidy, you start hugging your
No,
clients.
Cassidy, you
Really
you
were
I'm
know
writing
what.
this down. Writing it down. Hug with clients. This is what I'm learning
No.
the pattern.
I think that an engagement shoot, when they first arrive, when it's my very first time meeting them, I won't hug them. Like, I'll let them hug me. Like, there are some people that want to hug me, which is fine because we've like talked leading up to the engagement session too. Like, there's a lot of people that I have had a lot of communication with. But then if they're not comfortable, like some people walking the engagement session super uncomfortable, which is totally fine. Like, most people don't stand in front of a camera. I don't stand in front of a camera. Like, that's not my vibe at all. So you're already nervous coming in, and a lot of times you haven't ever taken photos with your partner before. So it's just like a lot of nerves. So they're probably not even thinking about it, to be honest. So it's up to them. But I'll hug them at the end.
I was gonna say there's something about the end of the session that I think I have hugged more people at the end.
Yeah. It's like more personal by then.
Yeah. And you had a good time and
Yeah.
And especially at the end of the wedding day, then
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah. I agree.
Then.
Oh, that's another thing.
Yes.
Like, does everybody say goodbye to their clients before they leave? Is that like
I hope so. You can't Irish goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually on Saturday I wasn't able to say goodbye to my couple because they did like an exit
Oh, yeah.
and then they got in their car and left, and that made me so sad.
Really?
That's different. I feel like I'll text them though and be like, "Hey, like sneak peeks during email. It was so good to like. Sorry that I didn't get to say goodbye to you guys. Like you guys were in the moment. I'm not about to like run in there. You know what I mean? So
Right. Yeah.
it's a good way to do it.
Yeah. But I always do, especially if it's awkward. Like I have to like go on the dance floor like I do.
Yeah.
I know.
Most of the time they know though.
Yeah. They like
I just
got-
have my bag on, so they know. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. You give them the signal.
Something that says I'm leaving, and they'll either come off the dance floor or they'll just like meander to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, the best. Yeah.
Didn't know we'd go there with the questions, but
Oh my gosh. There's a few like
Real
just
life.
kind of last like wrapping up questions that are a little bit more like thought-provoking that we wanted to ask you is Catherine, what is something that you wish you could go back and tell the former version of yourself who just started her business? What would you want to go back to encourage her or give her advice?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think one that's not going to be like as hard as you think it is. I think I wasn't raised around people like own businesses or anything like that. So I think my brain is very entrepreneurial, but I just didn't realize it. Um, and just saying like, "Hey, you got this. It's okay." Like, because I think it's terrifying when you first step out. Anybody's gonna be scared if you start a business of just like the unknowns and like there's so much more to it than it just being your hobby, things like that. But I've worked in like customer service my whole life, so in some way. So I think I knew a lot of that entering into doing wedding photography and just like, you got this. It's going to be okay. Also, just like your gear. I think that a misconception is that your gear isn't as important, but I think it's super important. I think there is like a level of saying like, oh yeah, like you obviously can produce good work, but like, hey, let's strive to like make our gear better too as well. I also didn't have a lot of money back then, so I think that also added to it too. But um yeah, and just like consistently photographing as well. That wasn't as deep probably as you wanted it to be, but
Oh, that's fine. I love that. I mean, especially like the first answer, like that was deep for sure. Because I think, yeah, that's something that I feel like you can all struggle with because it's honestly crazy to start your own business, especially,
yeah,
being a young woman. Like, yeah,
yeah,
craziness. So, no, that's great advice. Um,
yeah.
for someone who is looking to build up their personal brand, as far as being able to relate with their clients as much as you as continually booking your ideal clients, I think that's something that you have like really figured out. So, for someone who's wanting to build their brand more in that direction of being super personalized, what advice would you give them for like a good step to take to do that?
Yeah, I think staying consistent is super important. I see a lot of people that like go back and forth, one between like branding styles, two between editing styles. You cannot like provide your clients never going to know what you're giving them in their wedding gallery if you keep going back and forth.
Mm.
First of all, which is really important. So like even your editing style is your brand. And
Mhm.
I think that's super important. Like you can look at my stuff from when I first started to now, and it's still like you can kind of see the consistency in it of like what I wanted and like where I'm at is like what I wanted then when I started, but
Yeah.
it still like stayed consistent to a certain point. And two is like find your voice. So whether that's on Instagram or on your website or when you talk in like consultations, like your brand is like who you are because wedding photography is super personal. So if you're able to relate to them and say like this is like experiences I have, or like for example, for me, like Inner Green Gables, huge part of my brand. It might not be like the forefront of my brand, but it's a huge part of like why I do things. And that's super important. And then three, your website is going to change the game. I think like I always have consultations, and every single time I have a consultation, people say like I inquired with you because of your website or
Wow.
because of your Instagram. Um, and that's not me, that is Sarah. But it's just like super helpful because I think it shows your brand as a whole. I don't think you necessarily need to post on Instagram every day. I don't think that's super important. We're not in the phase of Instagram where the algorithm is just going to shoot you out of like feeds. We're not in that anymore. We used to be, you can post once a week if you want to. I don't think that's a huge deal. It's like coming on, when you come on, you use your voice to like say whatever you want to say. So for me, because my business says tales in it, like stories, I always want to tell a story in my Instagram post somehow, some way, whether that's through the photos or through the words that I'm typing out. Like that's a huge deal. So that's why I would say it's also not as daunting as you think. Just sit down and like pick some buzzwords that you want for your business and then apply them to your business as well. So my tagline is authentic, candid storytellers. And then I'm like, okay, what do I take from that and apply it into my business as well?
Oh my gosh, Catherine, if I could take what you just said and like blow it up and like make all these arrows point towards it and make it like a big neon, emphasize it to the max.
Oh
Oh my,
my gosh.
I am so passionate about it was like one, like Lindsay and I talk about social media all the time, pros and cons of it. So even just to hear you say, like, guys, you don't need to be posting, you don't need your
You don't.
story always up, you don't need to post, you don't need to do a reel. I hate the pressure of like doing a reel every day. It's so
Yeah.
hot take, but so freeing to hear you say like just be intentional with what you're choosing. Like Meraki, like do it with purpose and soul if you're
Yeah.
going to do it. But I also
Yep.
feel like I have the
It's
same
so true.
mindset. I studied professional writing in college. So
Mm.
I definitely have that same mindset of like if I'm going to take the time to write an Instagram caption, I want it to tell a story. I want it to be intentional. I want it to be about the couple or maybe
Yeah.
about me, but like you know what I mean?
Mm.
Just very intentional and beautiful and purposeful. I
Yeah.
hate the captions. This is a hot take, but I hate the captions that are just like she's
Mr. and
so
Mrs.
there. Yeah, Mr.
Which I've done that
I'm
before.
like, oh my god. It's just like
I
not
do it sometimes when it's like, oh, like that is an emphasis of their wedding day.
yeah.
But like otherwise, no.
Yeah. If it's like every post is just a generic,
Yeah.
it's just their names or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes like why I don't post as much is because I also do the same thing. Like I want to tell a story and like I want to write a really thoughtful and heartfelt caption. And so sometimes I just don't have it in me.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
Catherine, like
Better wait then.
if like the whole world needs to hear like just that like last answer that you said because like that was just like such gold, like your whole response there. Like yeah,
I want
everyone
to
needs to hear it.
agree.
Yeah,
You're
so
the
sweet.
expert herself. I love that. And I love that people inquire with like say they inquired with you because of your website. Like that is just proof that like your brand is such a worthy investment. Like that is not something that you want to just like
Yeah.
mess around with and like beat around the bush because sometimes it takes someone else looking into you for you to be able to express who you are.
Yeah.
And that's also like why I hired Sarah as well because like I come from a graphic design background. And so for years I was like, oh, I can design my own, branding, like no
Mm.
problem, which I did, and it was okay. But having someone else, a professional, ask me these intentional questions and create a brand, like because of that, seeing some things in myself that I never had even seen in myself was like it was gold and it was like so worth the investment. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love it. We love the brand.
Okay, last question I think is good to end with. Is Catherine, if you just wanted to share a little bit about like what's in store for your business coming up in the future.
Yeah.
If you're working on changing or improving something, if you were working on something this year that you've already seen like kind of coming to fruition since we're halfway through the year, just share a little bit about like goals you have for your business or dreams or just
Sure.
kind of where you're taking it.
Yeah. So when I first started my business, I said that I was never going to take destination weddings. It seemed like really daunting. So this year, I went to Maine for a family session. That was 2 weeks ago. It was like one of the best trips I've ever had. Also because we were like in the sticks of Maine, so we were forced to be chill. And next year, I'm looking at taking weddings in California. They're in the process of being talked about, which is really cool. So I'm obviously going to be really picky because I like a lot of my community is here. So I have to be really intentional about like what destination weddings I take and things like that. But that's a huge, I love to travel. I've literally traveled to 4 different spots in the last 2 months. So like, it is who I am. So just being able to like experience that with people as well, and photograph weddings in like a different spot than central Pennsylvania is really cool. We also refurbished my video team. So my current videographer is taking a step back, which is totally fine. He has like a family and everything like that. So he's like reassessing his business. So just taking a step back and like assessing what we want to do with that. But I will be doing a video team in 2025. We just took a step back this year for that. And it's going to look a little bit different, like more representative of my brand and what that looks like. And I'm going to have like more hands-on, like to the editing process and things like that, and curation of storytelling. I'm not a videographer, so like obviously I'm not going to tell them how to shoot, if that makes sense. but just like being able to say, hey, these are like my couple of stories and I want to include that in it. We had a couple in November that like we adored, and I think our whole team did such a good job just like really representing their story and who they are, and just like taking that and say like, this is what I want, because I think it's hard for me because I'm not like in charge of the editing process too, so setting expectations and stuff like that with that. And then lastly, we're going to start opening up photographing in North Carolina with Pennsylvania prices, which is really cool. So yeah, that's somewhat in the future as well. So yeah, I'm excited. So North Carolina isn't like a quote unquote destination wedding. It's like a Pennsylvania wedding, if that makes sense.
Wow, wow, wow. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you for all the things. Especially California. Take me with you. Yeah. Actually.
Yeah. The Redwoods.
Nuh-uh, shut up. I've already been
there. Gosh. Of course it's the Redwoods. Where else in California would you
take me with you? Oh, that's like so on brand for you, Catherine, to go to the Redwoods. And I'm sure your couple knows that. And yes.
So hopefully it all works out. If not, we'll be at the Redwoods at some time else.
That's actually so cool. I actually think it's really cool too about like your video, because you feel like you kind of threw that here on the end, like saying that you even have you don't just offer photo packages, but video too. But I was kind of thinking as you were talking, I was like, wow, as someone who's really passionate about telling people's stories, seeing you like include video is such a cool and so unique, like great way to tell a couple's full story through photo and video. If the two are like fully partnered together, like, the way they could tell you have the capacity to tell a story by offering both. I'm like sitting over here like, that is so stinking cool.
She's a boss, babe. She's been for so long.
I always just think of new ideas and I'm like, can I do this? So yeah,
you don't limit yourself.
I don't.
Which is so cool. You're like, can I launch a full video team in addition to photography? And you were like, let's see it. And like so many of your couples last year, because I worked with you for some of them, booked that. Like people loved that. You just being a one-stop shop for Yeah.
I like to be in control too. So I'm an oldest child, so that's also why. But no, it's also just like being the ability to tell another way to tell a story.
Yeah, that's so cool. No, that's why I love it. That's why I I feel like that is one way that you can serve your couple so uniquely. Because I'm sitting here like wishing like I had that for my wedding, was like the photo and video like together, telling the same story, looking together on the story, and then they don't look so different from each other then.
Yeah, I agree.
That's so true. Oh, wow. So cool. Any final thoughts, Catherine, that you want to share that like is on your heart?
I think just like from a photography standpoint, just really not a photography standpoint, I meant a branding standpoint, sorry. From a branding standpoint, just like really pressing into your brand. Your personality is your brand when you're a wedding photographer. That's super important, because you are doing one of the most personable things that you can possibly do with someone on a wedding day. Like you're literally in like their most like intimate moments of a wedding day. So I think that's really important, to brand yourself for who you are and what you love, because other people will flock to you because of that. And then with social media, like it's the same thing. People will flock to you because of your presence on social media, because you are showing like who you are as a person and who you are as a brand, rather than just be like, here's a review. Do you know what I mean? Which reviews are important too, but I think like there's so much more to it. And then also like, if you think you should start a photography business, go for it. I think it's so important. Like, just try. Like, I think there's so much fear in it. Like, you can just try. Just ask your friends to model for you. You can just, like, post on it on social media. You don't have to make money from it or anything, but just, like, test it out and see what you want to do, because I think that's super important. I will always, like, hype people up. If you have questions, always feel free to reach out to me, too, because I'm more than happy to talk, too. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you for coming on, seriously. And I love how you like kind of ended with just being like, guys, there's room for more creative like photographers out there. It's not oversaturated. Come join the club.
Yeah,
come help us, we have.
Come join the club. So. Come apply to be my second shooter.
Yeah.
I mean maybe, but like good.
Oh, no, yeah, this is so nice chatting with you. I'm really glad to
Nice
have you
meeting
as our
you.
first guest ever. So whoever's next is gonna have to somehow match your incredible level of like kindness and expertise and just all the good nuggets that you offered in this conversation.
All the good nuggets. I love it. Yes,
Chick-fil-A.
thank you so much, Catherine, for just opening your heart and just like opening up your brand for us and just like kind of like breaking that all down because we all admire you so much. So thank you for
You
sharing
guys
your
are so
time with the
sweet.
world. We
Thank
will
you so
drop
much for having me.
absolutely. We will drop all Catherine's like her website, her Instagram, things like that in the bio. If you want to stalk her on Instagram and follow along on her pickleball journey, definitely do so.
Yes, the pickleball.
She's getting good.
I am.
Yeah.
That actually teach me because I'm like terrible with that kind of thing. So
I got you.
yeah, I don't know. I might be beyond it.
I'm like, what? You playing a sport? What?
Pickleball is very attainable.
That's what
I'm not the
everyone,
most athletic person, and it's pretty attainable.
that's what everyone
Also,
says.
Instagram. There's Instagram like profiles that will give you tips and tricks too. So yeah.
All
I
right,
love
I'm coming over. Sounds good.
All right, you're gonna have to eat your words, Lindsay. You're becoming a pickleball player.
After one lesson
I'm
with
here for
Catherine,
it.
be like, you have
Listen,
no hope.
Sam's height would help too. So we'll also drag Sam into this too.
Okay, well, he has knee issues, so
Yeah, but
Exactly.
I've heard
You don't
that
have to
it's
run a lot.
okay.
okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, he'd be like, I would be so scared to go against Sam because his arms are so long. It's in, yeah.
Yep.
Sounds
I'm
good.
dragging Sam
Dream
into this
team.
too.
Perfect.
Cheers.
I love it. Thank you so much, Catherine, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah. All right. Yep. Until next time, we're going to be doing next time is going to be our next coffee talks episode, and Cassie and I have a lot to talk about and a lot to catch up on, so definitely do not miss that one, which will be coming on next week. So thank you guys.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week.